of blacks and Chicanos, we haven't had the same opportunities to have a very good education in the primary and secondary school years. We can't really be expected to be judged by the same standards as some Anglos or some middle class persons or upper class persons who have had the opportunities to have good schools, to have good teachers, get a lot of attention, so that they could have the kinds of GPAs that they need to get into the University of California. Blacks and Chicanos, in a lot of our schools, because a lot of our schools we aren't taught in bilingual, bicultural, with bilingual and bicultural methods, because of the fact that a lot of the Chicanos, a lot of the schools where a high concentration of Chicanos, a lot of the teachers are gabachos, and it's the same with the blacks. The blacks face the same kinds of system of education where it's not their own people who are teaching them, and so a lot of the methods that are going to be used in the teaching are going to be, geared more towards middle-class Anglos rather than, poor blacks and Chicanos. Therefore, blacks and Chicanos aren't going to learn as much, and they aren't going to receive as high grades. Plus, they aren't going to do as well on the entrance exams for the University of California system. So Alan Bakke applied. He was denied. He looked at the fact that there was blacks and Chicanos who didn't have grades as good as he did, and who maybe didn't do as good on the test as he did. And he said, well, hey, why do you let blacks and Chicanos in? Supposedly because they're disadvantaged. Why do you let them in? Whereas here I am, I'm white, and you're discriminating against me, because of the fact that I'm white. So he filed suit against the University of California based on a bullshit, a lie, an argument, which they call reverse discrimination. And under reverse discrimination, it's as I said, he's questioning the fact that blacks and Chicanos are allowed into some schools, even though there's very few under this special admission program. They're allowed into those schools, even though they don't have, those GPAs and stuff that he had. But the fact of the matter is that tests have proven that blacks and Chicanos that get into medical school and get into law school, even though they don't have as good a GPA as a lot of the middle class, applicants and students who want to get into those schools, they end up achieving better, or else they end up, actually a higher percentage, or a very high percentage of them, 90-95%, will actually go through the whole law school, go through the medical school trip, go through their internship, and they'll come out and they'll actually come back and they'll be able to service their community. But like I said, the whole reverse discrimination question is being raised by Alan Bakke, and he's not saying why don't we have a system, an educational system that will allow everybody the access to education. He's not saying that. He's not basing his argument on that. He's saying, no, we shouldn't have any special admissions, because special admissions is giving preferential treatment to blacks and Chicanos. Blacks and Chicanos shouldn't be treated better than white people, because blacks and Chicanos, according to him, we aren't getting discriminated against to begin with, so we should be judged along the same standards. So this whole reverse discrimination thing is a very kind of complicated, I can't really capsulize it for you, so I hope you read the literature. It's a complicated legal argument, and it's jive, it's based on jive. It's based on trying to mislead people and create confusion about the whole legal question. So anyway, he filed suit against the University of California. When it came to the state Supreme Court, the UC Regents had, their legal defense consisted of nothing. Like, they didn't call any witnesses, they didn't present any testimony about why there should be special admissions programs. They didn't present any testimony to defend, EOP and defend La Raza studies and defend programs which, deal with Chicanos and blacks. They didn't defend any, they didn't present any evidence in our defense, in defense of a program servicing us. Because the fact is that the UC Regents, they wanted to throw the case. They wanted the case to go against them in favor of Bakke. That's why they didn't present any arguments against Bakke. So okay, they threw the case on the state level. After that, they decided to appeal it to the Supreme Court on the federal level. And again, the strategy is not to actually defend the programs for us, but rather to throw the case again. Because any decision that's upheld on a federal level, any decision that's upheld on a federal level will be applied nationally. It'll include all the programs in all the United States dealing with not just blacks and Chicanos, but dealing with Puerto Ricans, Indios, Asians, and Native Americans, dealing with women also. Women are going to be particularly affected. So now it's going up before the Supreme Court. Again, the UC Regents are expected to throw the case. And again, the court ruling coming against us in favor of Bakke is going to lay a legal basis for the man to eliminate a lot of the affirmative action programs and a lot of the special admission programs. I hope people are clear more or less about what a special admission program is, to give us a chance to get into school so we can have professionals, you know, Chicanos, blacks, and in those other in those professions and in those careers, so that we can better service our people. In terms of affirmative action, it's along the same lines, but the difference is that you know, the special admission programs are for the University of California system, the university system throughout the United States. Affirmative action is a program, you know, which they decided, okay, blacks and Chicanos are not, you don't see them like working in a lot of the important positions at the welfare department, at the housing authority, at the medical centers, and at the different service centers or outreach agencies of the city and the county and the federal government and state government. They say that there's not enough blacks and Chicanos employed in those positions because there's been discrimination in our past. And they're not allowing us to get into those positions. They're not allowing us to be directors of different programs. They're not allowing us to control institutions which are supposed to be servicing us. So that's why affirmative action kind of came into existence. As a result of struggle, we finally were able to win different employment programs under affirmative action where, you know, the law stated, under the Civil Rights Act and stuff, the law states you have to, a city agency, the housing authority, the welfare department, whatever it is, the school system has to have the same percentage of minorities on its staff as are in the surrounding community. So if you're in an area in California where it's like 25% or something like that, you have to have 1/4 of your staff, and you know, that includes all your administrative positions have to be blacks and Chicanos, you know. And you know, the fact of the matter is that affirmative action program, it isn't the answer to all our problems, but it's a start. You know, we can start getting Chicanos into some of those positions, so we can start, you know, better servicing our own people and better, you know, kind of, you know, determining some decisions that are being made as far as how the system's going to treat us. So, you know, now, you know, this decision on the federal level will not only affect students, it'll affect all of us, because we all might be going for some job under some local, city, county, or state or federal agency, which might be affected by affirmative action, which might make the difference between our getting hired and our not getting hired. So that's an important factor.
How many people don't know in English here? ¿Cuánta gente no entiende en inglés?